Hi, this is Willem again, and this is another tutorial for Multi-Sprite Animator. What we are going to be doing in this tutorial, we have these animations here already of this boy. Here's his idle and his walk, and we are just going to be implementing these, create a character that walks left and right, pauses for a minute, and plays these animations. So I'm just going to walk you through how to do that. So let's start by creating a new game object. So I'll right click here and do create empty. Let's call this boy, and let's add the Multi-Sprite Animator component. So you'll see that that will add here a sprite renderer and the Multi-Sprite Animator. Now the reason it has a sprite renderer is that the Multi-Sprite Animator will look to the sprite renderer for a lot of information. For instance, if you flip the sprite left and right, it will flip the whole animation. The sorting order is here for the sprite renderer is what determines the sorting order for all the sprites in the animation, unless you've specified otherwise on a per sprite basis, which is like an advanced option. Same thing for the sorting layer as well as the order. So what's really nice about this is in your code, if you want to turn your character around or z-sort them, you're really only manipulating this sprite renderer, and that's it. So it's very simple, and everything else will just kind of get handled behind the scenes. Then in the Multi-Sprite Animator component, you see there's a default animation slot, and you can just stick something in there, and that will start playing it as soon as this component's loaded. And a timescale which controls how quickly the animation is played. All of the rest of the pieces of this are handled through code, but it's very simple. So we're going to start playing with that a little bit. So let's start by creating a new script. Do create C#, and we'll call this example boy. Okay, we've opened up the code editor here. We have our empty example boy model behavior. So let's just get rid of these comments. So let's see, what do we need here? Well, first thing, we are going to be playing one of two animations, either his walk animation that you've, or the idle animation, both of which we already have made. So let's create some public variable to just link to those in. We'll do public ms animation for Multi-Sprite animation, walk. Oh, so here it is telling me that it can't figure out what that is. That is because we need to add using Multi-Sprite. There we go. So there's public Multi-Sprite animation walk and idle. So those will be our links to our two animations. And then we need the reference to the animation player, so we'll do Multi-Sprite Animator, get a reference. I'm just going to call that MSA. So let's get a reference to that. And just in case we forgot to put our default animation in there, let's tell this to play the idle animation. So we do msa.play idle. And that's it. That's how you play an animation. Let's just test that and see how we have that. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, so back in Unity, let's drag our example boy script onto our boy and hit play, and we'll see that since we haven't linked any animations, just nothing's going to happen. So let's stick our boy idle in our idle, hit play, and there we have him. All right, so that's great. Let's get back into our script and have him do a little more. Okay, what's up next is we are going to have him walk left and walk right and pause between them. So let's see, in order to do that, the first thing we're going to need is a movement speed. So let's put that there. So we'll say float walk speed. Let's set that equal to 15. Float walk time. Let's have him walk for 4 seconds. Float pause time. Let's have him pause for 1.5 seconds. Timer will be what keeps track of the time. Oh, and let's also have a bool that determines whether he's walking or not. So we'll start him, he's not walking. So if he is not walking, the first thing we're going to want to make sure is that he is playing the idle animation, so we'll do that. Then we want to tick down the timer. So we'll say timer minus equals time dot delta time. If timer is less than 0, then we will say he is going to be walking now. Let's reset the timer. Timer equals walk time. That's all we have to do there. So we'll do the same thing here. If he is walking, we're going to have him play the walk animation. Timer will tick down. If timer is less than 0, walking is false. And timer will equal pause time. So that's how long he'll wait for. So one thing that we forgot here is to actually move him. So let's do that really quick before we test it. In the walking, we'll do transform dot position plus equals vector 3 dot right times walk speed times time dot delta time. And since we want him to pace when he's done walking, let's have it flip the walk speed. Oops, times equal -1. Let's give that a try and see how it looks. So here we are. Let's move the boy to the left since he's going to be walking right first, and let's hit play and see how that looks. Well, it looks like the functionality is in. The only big problem is that he is not facing the direction that he's walking. And that's pretty easy to fix. So let's have a look. Now, as I said earlier, the flipping and sorting is all handled by the attached sprite renderer. So let's get a reference to that. Sprite renderer. I like to call it SR. I like to use these short names so I can, because I tend to refer to these things a lot in the code. It tends to keep my code looking clean. Sprite renderer. So what we're going to say is when he's walking, if walk speed is greater than 0, sr.flipx equals true, else sr.flipx equals false. Let's go back, take a look at our game and hit play, see what happens. There he goes, heading off to the right, having a break, and heading back left. Cool. Now I'm just going to go over a couple last functionalities here that I haven't mentioned. So one thing that you can do, let's say we wanted to walk a little faster, let's say 30. But if we do that, we'll see that his animation doesn't quite sync up with how quickly he's walking. It looks like he's kind of gliding along the ground, and he just kind of leaves the screen there. So what we're going to do, since we've doubled the walk speed, let's cut the walking time in half. If you can easily control the speed of the animation's playback, how you can do that is do MSA dot timescale, and we're going to set that to 2. So that will just play the animation twice as fast. Let's have a look and see if that looks better. And that looks great. A few other quick things to go over. You'll notice that I'm just calling play once, and I'm not having to check to see if the animation's already playing. This play function does that by default. You can do it manually by doing MSA.isPlaying. Is playing and then putting in the clip. and that will return true or false if it's playing this clip. But this will do that by default. If you want it to force the clip to play, there's an option for that. If you add comma, you can see the other parameters here. One is the animation start time. So if we want it to start, a second into the animation, you could do that. Let's leave that at 0. Play if not already playing is set to true. You can set that to false, and that will just force the animation to start again at the beginning or whatever time you set here every time this is called. But since we have this being called all the time, that will make it not animate. So let's just leave it as is. And that's really it for this tutorial. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time.